Welcome to one of the most unique videos I've probably ever done. Uh, why am I recording this like this? Well, it's a beautiful day right now. It was raining and I thought I could record while it was raining, but as you can see, it's actually really nice out. This was supposed to be oh look, it's raining, let's talk about this or that. But no, the the process of trying to get OBS installed was a freaking heinous process that took an hour. So now it's about 7:45 in the morning. Most people are waking up at this time. It's the weekend as well, which is also nice. It's not supposed to be a nice time. It's supposed to be a relaxing time with the rain, but no. Um, this is if you are my mom that's watching, I would propose a deal. If this if this video ends up being bad quality or glitchy or what have you, um, then can I get a new laptop? I know I know the one that I'm recording on right now I picked up by myself. I refurbished it by myself and I'm still trying to get the things fixed with it. But one of the reasons why I picked it up is because I thought it would be a good tool to have, but with how poorly it runs Windows 10 nowadays, um, that's simply not possible. And now now I wasn't craving it before, but now I'm craving just a laptop to do my shit on. Um, So please. I mean, it's already taken $100 to fix this one to the point it is now. It's only gonna take a few hundred more to get a new one. So I propose that deal. But anyway, the whole point of this video is to talk about my last video. There are some points that there are a lot of things about it that are just off. They're just way off, and I want to talk about them because these are really weird things. So let's get right into it. SMP, I am taking the nether portal that I built and putting it at world spawn while also needing to make it look cool, because this is like some kind of base that people will use on a day-to-day basis. So immediately, as and before this video starts, I probably should have mentioned the fact that I didn't really get my mic settings under control. It may seem a bit weird in hindsight, but during the time that I was recording this, it was very it was like a week ago before this video was actually, I think it was actually like 2 weeks ago before this video was actually published. And the reasoning for that is because this was planned to be like a project. When I started making this video, I thought I was gonna have this sort of thing where I separate all of the footage on a timeline to their respective projects, but that didn't end up falling through, and I regret doing it like that. I still like the idea of doing things like that, but for this, I didn't. It wasn't a good idea to do that, because it just made things very complicated. Because there was conflicting videos that didn't have that certain rule, and I didn't want to use some of the same footage in two videos because otherwise I would have looked like a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a content farm. I don't want to say content farm, but honestly though, the type of person that just does it to multiply their amount of content that they give out. Um, and then the second thing you notice on this video is the Roblox elevator music. This one, the reasoning for that is because at the very end of this editing process, uh, this was right before this. I asked, like right before this, I put the video, the second episode of the video, or of the Minecraft thing. I'm messing up my words. I put up the second episode of the neighborhood SMP on my YouTube channel, and I asked everybody what they thought. a lot of people were very supportive about the idea of putting background music into it. Now, I had no sweet clue what background music to play into it. So when they suggested this stuff like, oh, you should put lo-fi stuff in there and all this stuff, it didn't really speak to me. I wasn't really interested in putting lo-fi or a lot of things that people suggested into it. However, one thing that I had all of a suddenly remembered was the Roblox elevator music. Such nostalgia, dude. And so now, throughout this entire video, I just threw it in the background at every point of this video. And there are some better ways to have put it in there. Like, I could have gone through a bit more. However, this video had already taken way too long, and I didn't want it to take longer. Um, and for the most part, I'm happy with this. However, even though the music was very much thrown in there, I'm glad that I edited it in at the very end, because at least now I have something to go off of, something to learn off of when I'm putting music into it further or in the future. And who knows, this may be my like classic theme song music. I still don't even know if this is copyright music or not. YouTube hasn't told me yet. Um, but yeah, this entire tangent on this friggin' small little thing. But we're only 14 seconds into the video. Let's continue. And as you can see here, I have a place set up to build one. We're allowed to use Litematica for schematics. So I thought, you know what? Why don't? Another thing that I regret doing is putting essentially having the idea to build this inside of a separate world and then paste it into the first world. I don't want to do things this way. Sure, I want to start building concept art pieces, stuff like that. However, I do not want to do a direct copy and paste anymore. It did not feel good putting it into that world. I mean, it felt good being able to like put the final puzzle piece in. That's kind of what it felt like, except an hour. I think the raw recording took about 4 hours at the end, and it was like a 4 hour long journey just to fit that final puzzle piece in. And yeah, I definitely don't want to do it that way. So concept art is definitely going to be necessary. So on creative testing worlds, I will build some concept things that I want to build, see how I would want to build them, and then get started on the world. Right now, I do have something in mind, um, but I've yet to even consider it as an actual build. Uh, right now, it's kind of just a dream. I haven't started building concept art or anything like that. I want to make sure that I'm actually prepared inside of this world to make giant projects like this when I can. So I'm not this confident of a Minecraft builder. So yeah, even though I've built a pretty impressive project just starting out with this, it's again, to I don't want to do this copy and paste thing. So no spoilers, but this massive mega project that I'm thinking of is going to require all of the space I can get, which means I'm waiting for the world border that's set for us to be completely turned off. Um, at the time of recording this, it is after recording the last video, which is episode 4. I think this one was 4, right? I didn't. I should have updated the title properly. It was at 4. I can't remember. I think it was. It might have been. I'm not sure. So I think this is episode 4. This in episode 5. I'm recording this after I've recorded a lot of segments from episode 5. So yeah. Oh yeah. So in this mega project, I'm gonna need the world border to be completely turned off, because when it comes to what I'm thinking of right now, inside of the world border that we have, I just don't have nearly enough space, and I'm not a confident builder, and so for now, with the space that we do have, setting a ring around the neighborhood that we've already built. Um, I want to just completely set down as much farms as I possibly can. Something I haven't really done before, building specific farms to then build something very specific inside of my mind. Right now, the farms specific towards that build that I'm thinking of haven't really been built. However, I definitely am going to start building them soon. Um, that being said, the farms that I have right now, again, no spoilers because I don't know if this is coming out before or after episode 5. At least I think it's episode 5. No, it's episode 4. I can't remember. I'll put little asterisks and numbers on the screen if I forget. But on the episode that I'm talking about, um all of the farms that I have in place, which are just farms that are helping me get god tools, an easy and replenishable source of god tools, so I can actually start building higher quality stuff. Um, is what I'm working towards right now. Before I actually get onto the farms that will directly feed resources into the builds that I'm currently thinking of. Um, so one of the obvious things that I'm not afraid to tell you guys here is an iron farm. My plan for it is to build a temporary iron farm just to supply us with a bit of iron, and then an industrial iron farm so that I can have iron to then use to build the industrial iron farm, if that makes any sense. But really, it's just hoppers require a lot of iron, and there's no easy way to get that unless you already have some. So yeah, working on limited resources, I managed to figure it out. Now we have an unlimited supply of iron, and I'm planning on making it even bigger so that I have much more iron to go off of. Though that being said, I still have lots of other farms to work on, and stuff is still in progress. But at least that's in place. Moving going on further into this video. This is gonna be a long video, by the way. It's probably gonna be about an hour. I just make it in creative. One of the biggest problems that you immediately see here is that I'm using Axiom. I have never used Axiom before, so I looked up quick tutorial just so I can know how to access everything. And yeah, it's all very, very complicated. Like, look at all of this stuff. I'm actually quite surprised with how much I was actually able to do with Axiom. This is very bare bones, the bare minimum I could use Axiom for at the time, and the bare minimum for Axiom in general. These are the tools you see here are the only ones I had available to me because I didn't know that left shift went into painter mode, which would have been very useful for adding any texture or art to this build, which I haven't yet, and I should probably go back and update or edit the building for it. But right now, this is all I had working for me, and with the roof, actually, I'm gonna say that when we actually get to the roof part of this. But yeah, let's go back. Let's go back. I was not expecting my ability to be able to use Axiom to be this well. It's like I said later in the episode. I was kind of toying around with these earlier just to figure out how to use them where everything is, and I also did have a pretty big idea on what this is actually used for. So this was definitely a nice starter project for me. And even then, it's still surprising how, despite the fact that I cut out so much, it still was about 2 hours of raw footage. And that's I think that was a surprisingly low amount of time to actually get this done. I was expecting this to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but no, it didn't. Um, but I have confidence that I'll be able to do it, so. So for this part, I had red concrete prepared because I was trying to make an outline. Because what this was supposed to do was essentially be a building that had like levels to it. So it would go. There would be probably a ladder or a water elevator that went right down to the bottom of it, and had the portals at the bottom. The portals at the bottom would lead you to the nether like normal, except the water elevators that bring you right up to the top um, would bring you to the nether roof because it is a plan in mind to go to the nether roof for stuff like gold farms. Gold farms are going to be very useful. Wither skeleton farms, because I do need wither skeleton heads uh, to get stuff like beacons and whatnot, because of course I need that for Instamine, for cobblestone, and we know how much I need that. Holy crap. I guess not a lot of you know how much I need that, but trust me when I say I really need Instamine. It is a must have when I'm doing large scale projects. So, building those farms are also definitely going to be necessary. And yeah, but for now I am just going to have to go searching in the Nether off camera for wither skulls, wither skeleton skulls. So yeah. And I was steered completely off topic, but in the center section, the part where you actually get in and don't yet go to the bubble elevators, the water elevators, whatever, um, you would have a lot of access to fireproof potions that I would get from a piglin bartering. And this is very necessary because there's been a lot of points where people have died in lava, including myself, um, and just lost all of their stuff. And there were a few times where I lost all of my stuff with diamonds on me, which was very unfortunate. I don't want to happen. I don't want it to happen again, despite the fact that a lot of us have learned our lessons. Um, but even then, mining in that quarry in the Nether, to get the resources to build this thing, I died once with the lava, and it was pretty boring trying to get all not only get all of that stuff back, but I lost XP, all of the levels that I needed to make another pickaxe, which soon was very necessary, and it was just a long process getting it back with that pretty inefficient zombie farm. As someone that's used to just getting a lot of XP from an Enderman farm on a main world, um, going back to just basic zombie spawners was a very long process that I don't really want to repeat again. And it's like I said, I lost a lot of my levels inside of that lava. So it was just very unfortunate, and I don't want to just regain all of those 30 levels. And so again, it's more reasons than just losing your stuff in lava. Even if I still have my stuff, I could still lose a lot of those levels, and I don't want that to happen. And that's the only reason that comes to the top of my head. It's really other reasons, like it's simply just being a pain to get back to the stuff after I've died once, and it becomes really hard to get this to the stuff unless you have your stuff. Um, that's also a pain. But enough of that. Let's move on. So I guess this is a good space to work on. These are the nether portal sizes. Now I just have to make these look nice. I don't know why, but the nether portal sizes were a really tough decision. And looking back on it, I'm not surprised how that it was a tough decision. It feels like a very surprising decision yeah, to make because it feels so hard to make it. But at the very same time, I get why it took me so long to make it. Um, so there was a lot cut out here of me just trying to figure out what sizes would do best. And I settled on this one because, of course, it's like a not too big, not too small. But the build still ended up being so much bigger than it should have been. And yeah, and I definitely should have thought ahead for that. Just went with normal sizes so that it would be just a little bit smaller. But at the very same time, this thing, this thing is not even close to done. It looks like it's done, but this thing is designed to be able to take off the roof very easily and just build it as high as you possibly want and then stick the roof back on again. This is, of course, for storage and stuff like that. And we just can't live without a bunch of storage that we probably that with more storage that we're probably ever going to use in our lifetime. But I'm thinking long term, even though I may not even be here long term. Who knows? I may not even be able to finish my mega base. But if I don't end up making it long term, who knows? I may introduce my 2,400 day Minecraft world to y'all. I already have back when it was about 500 days old, but again, off topic. A very surprisingly hard decision to make for the Ender Portal sizes. Just the main point that I was going for. Cool. So, stairs, I guess? There we go. I figured out how to use copy and paste. This one wasn't a very difficult tool to use, but it was surprisingly difficult trying to figure out how to rotate all of these. I would imagine that this thing works a lot like Blender if Blender works in my mind the way I think it does, where I just don't I don't know. I truly don't know, but I've seen other people use this before, and it comes to stuff like rotating and whatnot. The rotating was a bit hard to figure out. Not like, and I want to say that, call this out in particular. I know it says on the side right there, it shows you how to rotate it. That's not what I'm talking about. I didn't know if it was clockwise or counterclockwise or how to rotate it, how to have control in which way it's rotated, stuff like that, or what the flip even does. Yeah, I know I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying flip like that, but at the very same time, what does that do? What does the flip button do? That's very weird and how it's like that. But yeah, it's just that type of stuff. And really, the amount of time that I've cut out here does not justify this one scene. It kind of makes it kind of makes me sound like I'm sarcastic, but no, I genuinely didn't know how to. This is my mastery of copy and paste. This is a revolutionary moment for me, and this just wasn't the best time to be recording it because I was more inside of like my concept art builder attitude. Based inside of Axiom. Now that we have this leading up, I do want to add just a little bit of decoration. So what I'm thinking is just in like these parts we add some kind of pillar. So I think that this design is decoration, or decoration, of course, being a pillar, when in all reality, it's more of just making it look like it's actually able to, like, the whole point of this build is to be decorative. And then the really to say that it's just decoration rather than an actual design feature is really weird to say, but at the very same time, I get it, though. Still, so I didn't realize this until afterwards, but I'm also going for a Greek temple style. I didn't really know what that meant or what it is. I just thought medieval came to the first thing of my was the first name to come to my mind, but I don't think the Greek temples were medieval. At least they don't call them that. But for those of you who are going to type angry comments about that, I just want to let you know I'm not good with names. Even with what used to be my bestest friend, it took me a solid month to actually remember their names and use their names. Um, but I'm not good with names. I'm also not really good with culture or even naming cultures or geography, topography, any of that. So a lot of the things I say where it's trying to describe where I'm getting this style from just is not gonna be reliable to actual stuff.
Is good. I do want to put some. I do realize that stone brick is gonna be a very repetitive block for building for me. I really haven't tried to build with anything else, so I guess building blocks.
I'm actually really glad that I did this because this thing would have looked so much worse if I didn't. Even though it's so much more resources that I need to gather, it's definitely a good challenge that I set myself for inside of the future. Though the greenery could do a little bit more work.
I guess I would just search a quick browse in there. So for now, I'm gonna stick with something like this. That looks pretty good, so I kind of want to keep that. So walking up to it, it looks very badass and whatnot. So here's the thing. I want this to look like it's designed to have more on top of it. So by building.
I can't help but feel a little disappointed about the fact that I wasn't able to keep the original design feature because the portal in the middle was just looking way too boring or way too out of place, and so something needed to happen to it. That thing that happened to it was a bit extreme, and I couldn't think of anything else to do for it, which ended up making me expand the space for it. And because I expanded the space, this means a lot more resources needed to be taken up. But I had to compromise to make sure that that didn't happen. Um, so this caused the top to be a lot smaller than the bottom because of the staircases leading up to it. Um, and yeah, it didn't. I kind of wanted the pillars to just be in the same place as that you see here, but I just couldn't do that because it made this. They were just like it would have been too costly to do that.
Some kind of like roof on top of it where it's either flat or has like some kind of weird stair design going on. Alright, cool. So now the roof is done, and you can see how it's kind of meant to like stack on top because this is a very flat roof. So
This also brings me back to what I was talking about earlier, where it's designed to constantly be stacking on top of each other until it's a giant tower. This is why I also really liked the original design for this. It just didn't really work out because the staircase I added in the middle. It just would didn't fit correctly, and it's whatever. You guys get what I mean. I already spoke about it before, but you can definitely see right here in this shot a lot better on how I wanted this thing to continuously stack up.
if I select both sides of this equation, I guess, because there's a lot of math involved, you can see that it stacks just fine. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't like the fact that there's like a gap here. So what I'm gonna do, push this down just a little bit. Yeah, that kind of covers it up a bit. So yeah, I'm not upset about that. But then this.
I definitely showed a lot more of my thought process around this part, which I do appreciate, and it's something that I want to take into future videos where if the if that part of my thought process is what ends up being taken over, um, then I want to include that in the video. So, for example, for the uh, iron farms that I was talking about, if that idea was actually gonna be used in the future, I would want that to make the final cut. However, when it comes to other ideas of me brainstorming, stuff that you really don't need to see me do, I wouldn't want to include myself. So when it comes to editing, this is one of the things that I definitely think I did well inside of this video, despite all a lot of other stuff being a little meh.
This also just looks a little awful, not gonna lie. And this isn't gonna make it any better. So I do kind of want to like cover it up a bit with a little bit of style, making it feel like it's connected to the ceiling. Alright, looks better. It looks a lot cleaner.
Honestly though, I really gotta give my huge appreciation to the music inside of this, even though it's one of the most basic, the most nostalgic rich music out there, the music that we heard a million times. I still appreciate it so much because it's such good music despite the fact that it's so old, and that it if you heard this video without that music, you would want to click off immediately. This is why I appreciate this music so much being placed here. But one thing, I think I said this before, but one thing that I do want to change about the music is to add more music into this track. Because right now, it's just playing over and over and over again.
But then I'm also thinking, what if I raise this up just a little bit? But that defeats the whole purpose of these stairs in the first place. Though I am thinking that it would look nice. I'm gonna need to push these stairs out quite a bit. So, for those of you wondering how I know about all these features, even though this is my first time using Axiom,
we're definitely starting to get into the points that I'm making inside of the video now that I kind of spoiled earlier in the episode.
I don't know if this is technically lying, but I played around with these a little bit just so that I could figure out how to use each of these, at least basic features that you see immediately. So I still have not used don't know what the setup symmetry is. I assume that says symmetry and not something else. But I do know how to use these and this menu, but that's about it.
Okay, zooming back, immediately thinking inside of this screenshot right here, looking at the actual tower, I think what I could have done is just have the stairs leading up to it at the bottom, however left the top completely untouched. Though the problem with that is that it would have like a connection issue. That is something that I want to figure something else out for. Simply just that I can spread the pillars out more, raise it up more, raise the roof up more. This makes the pillar stay on the stairs, which is something I really appreciated about the first part. And then still have the roof the same way it was before. But then the only problem is the connection piece from the portal to the top. I could get some taller portals going that probably would or would not work, but at the very same time, this thing is already built. But that's if I was able to go back in time, that's definitely something I would want to tell myself, is to essentially try to keep the original design in as much as possible, but also just try to figure something else out for connecting the roof, and also tell myself that this bigger option that I made here is actually really good. Having it bigger is definitely something that I really like about this build. However, having all the original design also still incorporated into it is something that I like as well. Then again, it is just the portal being connected to the ceiling that I really need to figure something else out for.
Still have not used don't know what the setup symmetry is. I assume that says symmetry and not something else. But I do know how to use these and this menu, but that's about it. I don't know what else this mod offers.
Hang on a second, go back just a little bit.
About it.
I did not notice that my mouse appears when I hit Alt. I feel like that's the type of thing I noticed but forgot about, but I'm just looking at the screen now, and I did not realize that I have control over my cursor in this menu. That's very interesting. But yeah, I think it's coming back to me now. Okay, it just came back to me. You can do that, but I just straight up forgot about it. It's like, wait, what?
I don't know what else this mod offers. So building some kind
I know more what it does offer now, which is the paint menu that I just forgot how to access.
of temporary roof for it would probably do well.
This is what I was talking about for the temporary roof as well. The roof, despite the fact that it's a semi-permanent fixture, I do want it to be something that I want to be able to take off every once in a while to stack more and more on top of the giant tower that I do eventually want this to be.
Fix that. Oh, I should put friggin' Blackstone here, shouldn't I? We're looking good. Okay. How do I? Okay, yeah. Light.
Something about the giant Blackstone roof is that I started building this thing, but also halfway through, after it was pretty much done, I realized that what I really should have done was turn it into Blackstone. There was just something wrong about it, and I tried multiple different things, but that realization is that the fact that it's just the completely wrong color of roof just hit me. And one thing that I did to change it, instead of using the paint menu because I didn't know how to, I instead used a different feature where I just hold a block in my hand and then I click on the block that I want to replace it with. And that's a feature inside of Axiom when you're doing very specific edits, very specific like repeated edits. But for this situation, it would have just been better to use, I think, the paint tool. Though I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. I've never used the paint tool before. That may not be its intended purpose, but I definitely would have preferred if I did try instead of the video. Though, I guess, like I said before, I just didn't know of it.
Lighting is definitely gonna needs to be something to take care of, because there's just way too much mobs in the frickin' world here. So that did the trick. Okay, great. That's awesome. We don't want mobs spawning in this thing on the SMP. We're planning on putting like a frickin' mob grinder, and we cannot have this thing nearby spawning mobs, taking up all that those resources. I'm gonna start working on these pillars again, because I don't want these to be, I want these to be just a little bit thicker. There we go. So how's that? It's looking very boring, I'm not gonna lie about that, but it's looking a lot better. Maybe I should put this closer to the edge, because we don't need that much breathing room over there. It's still a bit...
Breathing room, for those of you who haven't gotten that, breathing room is the space in between the pillars and the portal stairs, because I don't want people being forced to walk on the stairs when they're coming from this point over here all the way over to here. That's just something that sounds very inconvenient to me. So breathing room being just walk space, making sure it's even all around.
Bit off because the center, it definitely feels like a lot of this is just floating here. So I want to add pillars on the inside, especially if, you know, I'm planning on being able to come up here. So my problem with the ceiling is that it was really just floating. A lot of it was really felt like it was just floating there, and I didn't like that. So I'm glad that it's fixed for the most part. Pretty good.
I still would have wanted to do more for feeling very floaty type of thing. However, I think the best thing I could have done is double up the layers of the roof so that they look a lot stronger held together, rather than just having a pillar in the middle of it. I thought I would need pillars all around to make it feel somewhat nice, and then it looks bad. But looking back on this, I do realize that I should have just made the roof thicker, so when you look at it, it feels a lot stronger. because it's common knowledge, the thicker you make something, the harder it is to like snap it in half. That's how I felt for this roof, and so I may want to fix that sooner rather than later. But for now, I am happy with just having a pillar inside of the middle, and it's also something that I'm not really gonna notice unless I'm actively designing it, and heck, not even using it. Um, because when I'm using this thing, I'm only going to be using it for the portals, and going upstairs. Why would it go to the attic unless I already have some sort of storage system in there, which I haven't really had planned at all. Um, I've only have this thing planned going down, and that's really the only reason why the staircase is there. But enough about that. Let's move on.
I like that. Back to the lighting. I do have lighting up here, but I don't down here. And because this this top is oriented the same way it is as at the bottom, I could just put lighting down here. I think that looks good enough. So from the bottom, oops, from the bottom, it's looking pretty good. And I don't know, it doesn't look the best. Not my best work ever. But really, I'm gonna have.
Looking at it from this angle, it definitely feels a lot bigger than it actually is. Um, but then I also take this time to point out the fact that also even like this, the roof still feels like it's floating like this because it doesn't look like it's thicker than it actually is. So on the outside right here, maybe not even on the inside, looking at it like this, you probably only need to make this part thicker, um, for it to look a lot stronger. So I might want to just very quickly do that.
I have to ask for the uh Discord's opinion for this because I'm not one that comes for that you should call for good style.
This is what I was talking about earlier with me not being a confident builder. I personally don't know if this looks good or bad. I look at my own art and sometimes I do realize that it is trash. There are parts of it that are trash, parts of it that are good, and to me it ultimately doesn't matter. It's about what I like. I, for the most part, do like the build that's right in front of me, even though there's a lot of parts of me that feels like this is complete trash. And so I really wanted to get the Discord's opinion on it to see if they had any suggestions or improvements that they wanted to add. See if they had the same concerns that I had that they somehow have the key to. Um, like the roof feeling like it's completely floating off the ground. I would, I was going into this. I was kind of hoping that there would be a solution that would come forth, but no, and I shouldn't have expected one. I didn't expect one, but I shouldn't have gone into there hoping that I did get one, rather than just figuring it out for myself. I should have just figured it out for myself. Re-looked at this a couple of times, or a couple days into the future, and thought, maybe I can do this and this. Try new things. But another reason that I did send it to the Discord, because if I did come across this earlier, I still would have sent it to the Discord, because I do want to know what the entire neighborhood. I do want the entire neighborhood to know what is being put into the center of this place. How big is it? How small is it? Where is it gonna go? What do we need to do to allow this thing to be put into this world? All those sorts of things that are very required to put this thing into the world. And this is stuff that other people need to know about in case they are planning on putting stuff in the center as well. There's supposed to be a town hall in the center, and yeah, this thing is so massive that it could have potentially overlapped the entire thing. Um, but no, it doesn't. And after placing the stencil down, the outline down, Uncle Zan even said himself that he was hoping it was a lot more further back. Inside of this video, it was a lot more further back, but I also did make it a very clear point that the position and style of the build was not 100% done. So the position was an outline made in cobblestone. It ended up being so far back into the mountains that it's I don't think it was even in any part of it was in the original outline. So yeah, but I'm glad that I did inform the Discord of this, so that all of my neighbors knew how big it is, so that they can suggest putting a stencil inside of the actual world to know how big it is.
Yeah, those are comically large portals. It covers up the stairs in the middle, which was intended. All right, cool. I'm gonna pause the recording and see what the Discord thinks.
So after uploading all of that information to the Discord, so after all of this, it was more of just like what I was just explaining, trying to get this built into the world, communication, all of that stuff. And that's really all of the parts that I didn't really care about when it comes to making this video. So I'm skipping all of that, and it's really just to explain what was my thought process behind all of this, because I felt like a lot of this was very unexplained, and the stuff that I did want to explain throughout the rest of the video, I was already able to explain it throughout this first segment. That being the music, and I think one other thing. Oh right, my mic. My mic settings were a very different to where it was from now, and now it's a lot quieter. So you have to turn your sound up a lot more from this point in the video forth. So yeah, that was just really weird. But the music covered up the problems that the mic had throughout this entire thing really well. So I should definitely put some more music in when I'm having mic issues, because it covers it up really well. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this who knows how long video, because I don't have a second screen to see how long it is. And I will see you all next time.